Hi, welcome back to the basement. I'm Steve Lewis. Today we carry on following up on some of the info and insights that have come in through the viewer comments recently, and I'm also proud to present a conversation I recently had with longtime Beach Boy fan DaddyBog. There's a lot to get to, let's get started. In episodes about the Almost Summer film, and more recently in episodes about Mike Love's Celebration project, I've wondered why Celebration is billed in the opening credits of the Almost Summer movie as Taranga and what that name might mean. Nicholas Ams offered a possible explanation in comments on episode 133. As discussed, the Celebration band members were all transcendental meditation devotees and had participated in the Siddhi program. Siddhi and much other TM terminology comes from Sanskrit. Nicholas pointed out that Ranga translates to something like members of the assembly or protectors of the assembly in Sanskrit. So possibly Toranga derives from that. That would certainly make sense within the context of the group, and I think you're onto something there, Nicholas. I'd also like to know why they're credited as Taranga instead of Celebration in the opening credits of the movie. Was that timing or something else? I know David Beard over at Endless Summer Quarterly is working on some feature articles about the Celebration project, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he turns up in an upcoming issue. Turning to episode 165, U.S. Pop Culture 1964 Part 1, we talked about the Singing Nuns hit single Dominique, which had been #1 in the U.S. for the last 4 weeks of 1963. The Singing Nun was from Belgium. The song is sung in French, with the opening refrain being a cheery Dominica, Nika, Nika. Both Ian Lee and Burlington Bill 1 commented that this was unintentionally amusing to some French listeners, since Nika reportedly sounds like some really smutty French slang, which must have sounded particularly hilarious being cheerily chanted over and over by a nun. Undoubtedly, the singing nun had no idea of the connotation. Whether that's because she spoke Belgian French or because she was a nun or both, I have no idea. If there's anybody out there who's fluent in French, especially the rude stuff, maybe you could confirm this story. In another comment, Ian Lee also told us that the song 3 Wheels on My Wagon, which I mentioned as an obscure 1961 single by Dick Van Dyke and the first producer-arranger credit for Burt Bacharach, was also recorded in 1963 by the New Christy Minstrels. It was released in the UK on an EP in 1965 and as a single in 1966. Ian says that the New Christy Minstrels version was extremely well known in the UK as a kid's record when he was growing up in the mid to late 70s, and was also regularly played on the BBC children's radio program Junior Choice. Ian says that, along with There's a Hole in My Bucket, it's one song that almost any Brit over the age of 45 will know all the words to. You can find the New Christy Minstrels version here on YouTube. Interestingly, the lead vocal is by Barry Maguire, who was a member of the group at the time, and would soon, of course, become better known for his 1965 #1 hit, Eve of Destruction. It's certainly easy to spot Maguire's distinctive voice on the song. I'd have never thought that 3 Wheels on My Wagon was popular anywhere ever, though I will admit that the New Christy Minstrels version is much better than the Dick Van Dyke version. And though I presumed this was an early career flop by Burt Bacharach, apparently it worked out just fine for him. I want to thank both Ian Lee and Burlington Bill 1 for passing along those bits of right-hand side of the Atlantic information. Back in episode 156, Cool Stuff I Found Out Part 16, I asked viewers to share how they discovered the Beach Boys. I want to thank everybody for their responses. I'm not really sure how to share that information here, but responses ranged from everything to having seen them at a live show in 1962 in Southern California, to someone who got interested after hearing tracks from last year's Sail on Sailor box set. It also gave me a new appreciation for all those greatest hits and best of packages. I've always wondered why they repackage the same hits every few years and put them out under a new title, but apparently every time they do it, it draws a few new fans in, a few new people find the group. I also see that a lot of people got drawn in from those television appearances that they did in the 80s and 90s on shows like Full House and Home Improvement. I'm planning to do an episode or several on those TV appearances later in the year. Anyway, I was amazed with the broad variety of ways that people came to appreciate the Beach Boys. If you haven't checked out those comments, please check them out again on episode 156. It's really interesting. And once again, thanks everybody for taking the time to respond. Up next, I'd like to present a conversation that I recently had with DaddyBog. In addition to numerous Beach Boys albums and CDs, of course, he has a wide array of other collectibles that he shares here, including some obscure and interesting ephemera that makes me wish I had joined more Beach Boy fan clubs and subscribed to more Beach Boy newsletters back in the day. Please enjoy a conversation with DaddyBog. So I am here with DaddyBog, Beach Boy collector, Beach Boy fan for many, many years. You probably recognize the name from some of the really excellent comments on the YouTube channel. He has offered to share some of his collectibles with us today. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you got for us.
Thanks, Steve. I want to appreciate you for having me on. It should be fun.
So how did you get into the Beach Boys?
Probably when I got out of the service, but prior to that, 1964, I was hanging out with my friends down the street. It was a Sunday night, and I said, I'll see you guys tomorrow. And they said, where are you going? I said, the Beach Boys are on Ed Sullivan. And they looked at one another. I said, all right, I'll see you. So I go home and they sing I Get Around in Wendy. And that was the first time I seen them. So then in 1964, this is the first album that I bought. This is the original. This is 64. And then I got in 1965.
Mm-hmm.
So after buying these two, I went backwards. I went and got the Beach ones and the Christmas album. So I was up to date. And then it became a game. This album came out, that album came out. I'm in Atlantic City in 1969, and they're performing in front of 200 people.
Yeah.
They just weren't drawing, and I would always be early. I would always be up front. There were no seats. It was $10. I went to the day and night show, and there I was leaning on the stage. And I bought a cheap camera, and I mentioned I don't have the picture, but Bruce Johnson was sitting in front of a wooden piano, and I could see the flash hitting off the camera. That's how close I was.
Wow.
Then I moved to New England, and I had this one of Bruce Johnson. That was in the early 80s. That's Mike Kowalski in the background. And this is one of Carl.
Oh, yeah. That's a really good picture. That's one of the best pictures of him I've ever seen.
So what I did is I blew that one up and put it on a... So as far as collecting goes, I got into cassettes. I got the Brian Wilson.
What is that one?
This is a live album.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't crazy about this one, but I have it.
I always like that one better once I put it on.
Endless Summer.
Oh, there it is. All right.
The Beach Boys.
Yeah. Is Male Ego on the cassette version of that?
No.
They probably wanted you to buy the CD.
The Party. And the Christmas one.
Nice.
I have them all. I have those on albums as well, but I'm not breaking out the albums. It's just,
well, you just wonder how many of the cassettes survived, you know?
Yeah.
Listen for a while.
Summer in Paradise.
Now that's weird to see.
Surf's Up.
Is that really the Surf's Up album with that cover?
No, it's just titled Surf's Up.
Oh, okay.
It's just hits. It's just the title.
Just the title, okay.
Little Deuce Coupe. As I said, I got the albums.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see the cassettes, especially the way they crop the covers to make them fit.
Brian Wilson.
Yeah, imagination.
And then the twofer.
Interesting. Is it on one cassette?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever seen any of these.
Yeah, you know something? I just found out about that today and ordered one off eBay.
This is put out by Racing Champions, and I have the whole set.
Oh, there's more?
Oh, there's 7 of them.
Oh, I didn't realize. That was the only one I knew about.
There's the Pet Sounds.
Wow.
That's 3.
I had no idea. Oh, yeah. Oh, gotta have that. Wow, I had no idea. Like I say, I was only aware of the Surf and Safari one, and I wasn't even aware of that 2 hours ago. Yeah.
I got one more.
Oh, there's a different. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I have what's called the mother.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. That's on the novelty stuff. And as far as some of the older stuff goes, I was a member of the Beach Boys fan club, and it mentions all the people in here that represented by each state. And if you ever heard of John Hunter Phillips, they brought him up on stage, and him and I are friends on Facebook. He's on here.
So what would you get when you joined the Beach Boy fan club? Would you just get newsletters, or would they send you photos?
Just newsletters. Then Brian had his thing called Breakaway. And I got...
Oh, those are cool.
I actually had a question answered on one of these. I asked who coughed on Wendy. You remember that one version? There's a cough. They're telling me it was Al, and then people are telling me it was Dennis. But in the article, they're telling me it was Dennis, so I don't know.
Interesting. This
is when Brian got married. Another issue.
Wow. Wow.
And I'll open this. Waiting. There's a picture of him holding a little black dog. I have that here, and it's signed with a laser gun. It says, "To Don, Brian Wilson." So I've had that for a long time. Then he had this Christmas letter, wishing everybody a happy holiday. Ed Roach, who was a photographer for the Beach Boys in his early years, we're friends on Facebook. He took this picture, and whether Brian signed it or not, I really don't know. It doesn't look like his handwriting. On the back it says, "To Don, thanks for your neat letter."
Wow.
Then we get into David Leaf. David had the Pet Sounds newspapers.
Oh, yeah.
So I got 4 issues.
Boy, you just don't see that stuff. How cool is that?
Another one.
Wow.
And these are all Leaf publications by David Leaf.
Yeah.
And then Beach Boy magazine, where they appear in articles.
Oh, what magazine is it?
It's called Music Favorites.
Oh, okay.
Crawdaddy.
Cool. Modern recording. Wow. What's it called? The Super 70s?
Song hits of the Super 70s.
Oh, okay. Beach Boys are rocking on. All right.
People magazine.
I don't know that I realized they were on the cover of People magazine.
Crawdaddy.
Okay, yeah. Now I've seen that one reproduced, but I've never actually seen a copy of it.
And I always call this one the sad one.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy.
And I got a couple programs. I wasn't much of a program collector, but I got 2 of them.
Yeah, I wish I had been. What is that like? Was 76 and 77, something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. For some reason, I put Good Vibrations in a frame with the Sloop John B cover.
It looks really good.
I have some 45s put away. I got a lot of the albums, and that's pretty much it, Steve.
Well, thanks for sharing that. That was really cool stuff. The ephemera, the newspapers, and the fan letters. You just don't see that stuff.
I had one more thing, which if I would have copyrighted, maybe I could have made a lot of money. This is my Surfer Girl. So you plug it in and it go back and forth.
Oh, wow.
So I found a little surfboard. I found a Surfer Girl with the wetsuit. I said, I know what I'm going to do with you. So I don't know whether to call it Surfer Girl or Catch a Wave. This might be the only one you'll ever see.
That is definitely a unique item. That's really cool.
Great. So that's about it. Yeah, I got albums put away. You know, I don't play them.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but that's the way it goes. I think I have enough entertainment to carry on.
I believe you.
Right.
Well, thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
All right, Steve. Thank you for having me on.
Fantastic. Bye, Don.
Bye-bye.
Since we taped that, my Surf and Safari Woody has arrived from eBay, and I'm on the hunt for the rest of the collection. I probably ought to be careful doing episodes like this because I always find some cool thing to spend more money on, but I gotta admit, this is pretty cool. Thanks again to Don for sharing his time, his collection, and his love of the Beach Boys. It's much appreciated. That's it for now. Next week, we'll begin our deep dive into the year 1986 and, of course, what the Beach Boys were doing during that year. Meanwhile, I look forward to your comments. Please hit like and subscribe if you don't mind, and we will see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye.